I wanted to bring today's episode to the podcast talking about the biggest mistakes that we see on the fertility journey. This episode will really help you fast track your success. A lot of times we're doing things that we may think are right, but it could actually be either harming our fertility, setting us back, and really are those the right steps for us? So we take a very personalized approach to your fertility, which really fast tracks your success. So I want to talk about the biggest mistakes we see so that you don't have to make them and you can prepare your body for a baby in 2021. Hey there, I regularly speak with 5 to 10 couples per week who are struggling to have their baby. And although we want to help everyone, we only have 2 spots available per month to work with us. So the Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery Call is for action takers. And really people who are ready to move forward so they can finally have their baby. And if you're not ready and you wait, the risk is you'll need to wait 2 to 3 months for a spot to open up. So if you're seriously considering working with us, go to FabFertile, FabFertile.com and click on book a free call. Then you'll be all booked in and ready to spend 30 minutes to give you the action plan to getting pregnant naturally. That's FabFertile, FabFertile.com and click on book a free call. Hey there. Thanks so much for listening to the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast. And I've got a favor to ask you. If you are enjoying learning about the functional approach to fertility, consider going to iTunes and rating and reviewing the podcast. This is how it helps the show reach more people that are struggling with infertility, knowing that there's another approach that really can get to the bottom of why it's not working in the first place. So all you need to do is, if you're on the app or the desktop, just go in and consider leaving a 5-star rating and leave a review. And there is step-by-step instructions in the show notes showing you exactly how to do that. So if you can just take a few minutes, just take the few minutes right now. You can pause this recording, come back, leave the review. It would really mean the world to me and help others that are on the fertility journey as well. Take care. One theme that keeps coming up with the couples in our Fab Fertile Couples Coaching Program is sleep. Whether it's insomnia, having a hard time falling asleep, waking up at night, or feeling tired when we wake up, sleep is critical for fertility and hormones. And that's why I'm so excited to have Blue Blocks as our podcast sponsor. So we're exposed to blue and green light from our phones, our tablets, our computers, indoor lights, and more. And this exposure impacts our melatonin production. And melatonin is essential for both female and male fertility. It helps determine the frequency and duration of our cycle and impacts sperm. There's lots of blue light blocking glasses on the market, but the ones from Blue Blocks, they've actually compared other popular brands, and Blue Blocks block 100% of blue and green light, while other brands fall short. So I have their sleep glasses. They have red lenses, and the ones I have are a little translucent frame, and they're so stylish and really cool. And so they eliminate 100% of the blue and green light in the 400 nanometer to 550 nanometer range. So this is the exact range that has been shown in clinical studies to disrupt melatonin and negatively impact your sleep. So all you do is wear your sleep glasses after sunset until it's time for bed, and you'll notice improved sleep after just one use. And it's also cool to use when you're flying for managing jet lag. So I got to say I was a little skeptical about the noticing improvement after one use, but literally I use these glasses and my sleep is actually already pretty good. I used them for one day, and I have to say after one day, I had the best sleep of my life. I just felt so rested. So these glasses, they ship free and they're tracked for all orders anywhere in the world. And also they have all their frames come in prescription, non-prescription, and reading glasses. Plus you can send in your frames and they'll add the blue light blocking and green light blocking lenses to your frame. So this is an easy hack that you can add to your fertility toolkit. All you do is go to Blue Blocks, BLUBLOX.com. Use the coupon code GetPregnantPodcast at checkout and receive a 15% discount. That's Blue Blocks, BLUBLOX.com, and use the coupon code GetPregnantPodcast to receive your 15% discount. I didn't need to go to donor eggs. Obviously, I don't regret it. I have beautiful children. I could have done things differently, restored. I was still cycling back in my 20s. I could have looked at my health, the environmental toxins, the stress I was under.
Many women are being told their eggs are too old. That's often merely an assumption that's not based on actual evidence. The reason being that there is no direct test of egg quality. You can't test egg quality.
It's the man who's got a food sensitivity or he has a zinc deficiency.
Like there can be a root cause to these symptoms that are, quote unquote, period problems, that the doctor will pass you a pill without any question of why.
And some part of you knows that if you can reframe your journey from not one of struggle Or if it is struggle, learn how to embrace the struggle. Learn how to embrace it.
Most conditions in the child occur during the 9 months of development. It's the genetic switches are turned on or turned off, and they're pre-programmed. So you are in such a powerful, amazing position to do amazing things for your kids.
Why is IVF the first step? Because we believe it should be the last step. Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby. Hey there, I'm Sarah Clark, founder of Fab Fertile and your host. I believe the functional approach is the first step for anyone struggling with infertility, and my aim is to help you get pregnant naturally. Today, we're digging into the biggest mistakes we see on the fertility journey. This episode is for you if you've tried everything and nothing has worked. You're not sure what to do for 2021 to optimize your fertility. You feel like IVF may be your next step, but you really want to get pregnant naturally. Definitely check out episode number 6 for a functional medicine 101 talk. Plus, a look at some of the tools we use to help couples conceive. Thanks so much for listening. I'm so thankful you're here. Make sure you hit subscribe. And if you know someone else who is on the fertility journey, please share this podcast with them. So we're talking about the biggest mistakes we see on the fertility journey. Today, we're going to start with generalized recommendations. So we see this one all the time because in the fertility space, and I guess really in the health space in general, there are tons of recommendations, superfoods and supplements and all these things. And I talk to people all the time. Typically, as you may know, we coach a type A person and the research hat comes on. I know for me, in times of stress, I will default to Dr. Google, which sometimes can be good. But if it's like hours that you've spent on there and become more overwhelmed, that's not helpful at all. So really those generalized recommendations that you can get from books and podcasts, blogs, really though, are those recommendations right for you? So there's all these different fertility diets. Obviously, there's the top fertility diet, which is based on the Harvard nurses study, which studied over 18,000 nurses over the course of 8 years. And comes up with those recommendations on what to do. And the thing with that book, there's a couple of ones where they're recommending full fat dairy, which we see regularly with people being very sensitive to dairy. So to me, before you go and start eating organic full fat dairy, make sure you don't have a sensitivity to it, because then that's causing inflammation in your body. And the other recommendation they have is complex carbs, which are definitely better than simple carbs, eating all that, all the white stuff, but complex carbs, whole wheat. But again, we see a theme of non-gluten, non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So literally when we run the test, we have gluten being off the chart. So if you have got a very high sensitivity to gluten, again, causing inflammation in your body, and then you're doing these recommendations of whole grains and full fat dairy, then, is that the right recommendation for you? And then also people get stuck doing, like most people that I talk to are taking heaps of supplements. So fertility supplements. There's a whole, laundry list of supplements that you can take, which is quite, can be quite costly. And, but really, are you taking the right supplements? Maybe the supplement you're taking, like for instance, if you are taking supplements right now, make sure at least you're taking a methylated prenatal. You don't want to be taking methylated folate prenatal. You want to make sure you're not taking folic acid, which is the synthetic form of folate. We see a lot of people we work with have the MTHFR gene mutation. So having folic acid, your body can't process that. So you want to make sure that it is a methylated folate. You can definitely check out. I have a podcast episode on the MTHFR gene mutation, what to do, simple steps, and also have interviewed Dr. Ben Lynch. He is the world-renowned expert on MTHFR. So we talk all about methylation in those episodes. Definitely, you can go to the podcast, search for MTHFR, and then you can search for Dr. Ben Lynch. So you can listen to those ones. But really, for supplements, you want to make sure you're taking the right ones for you. And we see a lot of people, especially if you're getting your supplements off of Amazon. Sometimes they haven't been vetted and they're not actually what they say they are. So we don't have any affiliation with any kind of brands. We will recommend supplements that we feel are the best at the time that we're recommending them. Basically, they're professional grade. They don't have any of the top allergens. Many people are taking supplements and they have soy or wheat or corn in the supplements, which, those are top allergens. And then also and they could have dyes or fillers. So with the supplements, you want to make sure it's not actually harming your fertility. Again, these supplements may work for someone, but are they the right ones for you? And then we see many people doing fertility teas, which I've got a blog on my website talking about that. And really, those can be a nice add-on. It's not where we would start with, doing the fertility teas, they're very diluted, although they can be helpful like certain times in your cycle. But if that's what you're doing with, basing the fertility strategy on drinking fertility teas, and they can be expensive, that's not our first step. And again, you're kind of wasting some mistakes we see with that. Also with essential oils, although we love essential oils, and I have essential oil going right beside me right now, and there's one on my blog where you can see there's a specific mixture that you can rub on your abdomen, during the first half of your cycle. That's not really where we would start. It's a good thing to add on to your toolkit, but to do the fertility teas, the supplements, and the essential oils, those can be nice, but it's just, you may not be able to shift the needle as quickly if you're making targeted diet and lifestyle changes. So we see a lot of mistakes on that with these generalized recommendations. And also like the fertility superfoods of having obviously for the fertility community, the pineapple is a symbol, and maybe you have a sensitivity to bromelain, which is in pineapple. And so maybe the pineapple is not right for you. Also the old wives' tales or the fertility myths about having fries after a transfer, which to me, if you're having McDonald's fries after a transfer with they say there's no trans fats, but I think it's like they don't have to declare it has trans fats if it's under 5%. Like, why are you putting processed food in your body? I guess all the grease, but some of those things, again, generalized recommendations. Is that right for you? Fries typically I didn't know this for years, but fries typically can be coated with wheat or gluten to kind of make them crispy. So I'm pretty sure, I know 100% that the McDonald's fries are not gluten-free. So maybe you have a sensitivity to gluten, and then you're having a fry, which is causing inflammation in your body. So these are these generalized recommendations, which we just see people making mistakes with them, and you think you're doing some of these things that are helping, but really they could be setting you back. So that's why our Fab Fertile method really will tailor, the diet that's right for you, the lifestyle that's right for you with testing, and really be able to target that so you can prepare your body for a baby in the absolute best way. Next mistake we see are using outdated tests. So we have access to functional testing. We ship the tests, these lab tests worldwide. And we see people using outdated food sensitivity tests. And really, there's no perfect food sensitivity test. The gold standard to figure out if you have a food sensitivity is the elimination diet. You can check out on a podcast episode there in the podcast talking about how and why to do the elimination diet. But we like to tweak that further with food sensitivity testing. And typically right now we're using the Zoomer test as we're recording this. And we may, as other tests come to light that can give more information, then we'll move on to that. But we see people using tests that are just giving outdated information. And then also, if your body is under a huge amount of stress, maybe your body's not even able to mount an immune response to the foods. And so we see sometimes that the test comes back and everything's fine. So you could get some false negatives. And also for hormone tests, we're looking at the Dutch hormone test, looking at your hormones over the course of 2 days using urine. And we see people using outdated tests on that one. So the Dutch one really gives us the best markers as to, which pathways the hormones are going down. So if you're not using the Dutch test, you could be missing, valuable healing opportunities because it's looking at your sex hormones as well as your cortisol and your melatonin, and really, again, giving us the pathways to see how we develop a targeted action plan that's just for you. Because sometimes with the blood, it's just not giving us the full picture, whereas hormones, it's over the course of 2 days. So you can see exactly what's happening. And if you want to learn more about the Dutch test, we go into detail. I've got the medical director from Precision Analytical, Dr. Carrie Jones. She talks about the Dutch test in detail, especially if you have high FSH or low AMH. That's a really great episode with her to listen to. And then also the Dutch test 101, we go through an actual Dutch test so you can see what kind of findings we're looking for and how that test helps to develop our protocol. So you can check out those 2 episodes on the podcast. Another one we see is most people for fertility, they are not doing stool tests. And even if you have a stool test with your conventional medicine provider, your physician, they typically, the conventional stool test is not looking at the DNA of your stool. So it's missing all these healing opportunities. And we regularly see the bacteria, the fungal infections, H. pylori being passed back and forth to each other. So which H. pylori will lower your stomach acid. So if you've got any kind of acid reflux, or you may not even have any kind of, or GERD, you may not even have any of those symptoms, you can still have H. pylori. That certainly was the case for me. I had no symptoms of H. pylori, but have it. And my husband had it too. So that's always fun. But basically there's a protocol to help eradicate it. So if you don't know you have it, then your body's not digesting and assimilating these foods because of the low stomach acid. So we see that all the time with not using the proper stool testing. And then also we see, you've got your blood test done and your conventional medical doctor may be reviewing it, but they're looking at reference ranges for people that have disease, whereas we're looking at your blood chemistry and we're not diagnosing, it's to educate. We're looking to see what has been, and we're looking at it through the functional reference ranges, which are for healthy people. It just flags it earlier. So there could be a lot of false negatives. You'd be like, wait a minute, especially if you have unexplained infertility and they look at your blood chemistry and you're like, everything's fine. It's all normal, which is super frustrating. And then even if you do have another diagnosis such as, low AMH or POI, POF, diminished ovarian reserve, and they look at your blood chemistry and you can still be told that your thyroid is normal because, your TSH is under 5. Whereas typically in fertility, we know that the TSH should be under 2 or 1.5. But then have we looked at the full panel? That's just a case of just an incidence there of looking at the thyroid. We're looking at either your glucose, your lipids, your all your different blood markers. What has been missed, and all this tells a story. And then we also are looking at the hair tissue mineral analysis test, and we see not many people looking at that either. This is a very inexpensive test that just taking clippings of your hair and kind of seeing exactly what are your minerals at. And for me, I know, and for all of our clients, we see minerals just completely out of balance, which is, those are the spark plugs of the body. And so if that's not assessed and missed, then, your body's not functioning on high capacity. So there's a reason right now, why you're not pregnant. And you're looking at all those different stressors, either the physical stressors, which we can identify with those tests, which also it looks at the physical stressors as well as the mental emotional stressors. We can see the cortisol patterns when you're doing your testing with the cortisol. I just recently did mine and my God, what a disaster. I must have been like under acute stress that day. Know what was happening, but you can see my pattern. It was like just all over the place. And I looked back at that day and I'm like, yeah, I was having some issues with my son and was very stressed. You can see how that impacts you. So if you're under chronic stress for a while and not able to then, identify that and do something about it. And I think a lot of us would say, we're on the fertility journey and it is stressful. And then add in life and where we are right now in the world and, what's happening. That's just like added stress. So then what do we do to relieve it? So before I'd keep pushing through, and now I know to step back and actually take time for myself, or I'm going to be a disaster and everyone around me will not benefit from that at all, from my mood. So with our Fab Fertile method, basically our motto is test, don't guess. And we have access to these tests. We ship them worldwide and we don't have any kind of affiliation to any of the tests. It's whatever the best test on the market is at this current time. We will use that and we'll look at your health history and see which one is right for you. The next one we see is going to IVF too early. I don't think anyone thinks that IVF would be the first choice. I know for me, when I got my diagnosis with premature ovarian insufficiency or failure at 28 and was literally got that diagnosis, and my OBGYN immediately, I remember her reaching up on the shelf, grabbing the IVF brochure and saying, off you go to use donor eggs. And I didn't even get a second opinion and didn't even see what are the missed healing opportunities for me. And if you listen to my story, I had a bunch. So, the irregular cycles, the yeast infections, the hormonal acne, the chronic stress that I had at that point as well. So those were all clues that I was put on birth control. For me, IVF is prescribed too early. You go to your OBGYN, there's the instant referral to your reproductive endocrinologist. And then it's basically you're on a train to either medicated cycles, IUIs, and then IVF. And no one's even looked at the whole entire body to see what are these healing opportunities that are missed. So we see that all the time. And people that come to us, typically they've had at least one failed IVF, and they may be thinking of their next IVF, and they really want to then, optimize their chances of getting pregnant. So either getting pregnant naturally, which we see all the time when they've been told that IVF is their only option, getting pregnant naturally, or if they do go to IVF, they've increased their chances of it working dramatically because they've, reduced all the stressors on their body, and, lo and behold, the body then wants to procreate. Then we also see the couple that have gone through multiple failed IVFs, 2, 3, 4, 5 failed IVFs. Obviously, the heartbreak with that, the emotional heartbreak with going through that many failed IVFs, and the financial strain is huge. And with the average success rate of IVF being 30%, and IUI has an average success rate of 10%. And even though people think that once you've decided on donor eggs, even that, it has a 50% success rate. So it's really to me, before you go to IVF, to work on the physical and the mental, emotional stressors in your body and address those, because there's no negative side effects for you and your partner working on your health. You'll get healthy, either get pregnant naturally, or when you do go to the clinic, you'll increase your chances of it working. That's our Fab Fertile method, really digs into the, using the testing and then taking those targeted diet and lifestyle changes, looking at the blood chemistry, not to diagnose, but to educate, what's been missed, working on those basics. Like we talked about a few weeks ago we had our fertility series there where we talked about the basics such as sleep. I speak with people all the time and they're like, my sleep is, I wake up during the night. I can't fall asleep. I have a hard time falling asleep. I've had insomnia for years. I wake up, I'm exhausted every day. So sleep is a huge clue to dig into further. And we worked for months to optimize sleep, working on the diet, like we talked about with those generalized recommendations. If you're having fertility superfoods and maybe following the fertility diet, or maybe you're doing the Whole30, the plant-based, the keto, the paleo, those diets that work for someone, but are they right for you? And so really being able to hone into this and take that targeted approach. I really do believe, I know that IVF is there. It is an option for you, but to really spend the time to dig into why it's not working. And even if you're dealing with female factor infertility, that's why we coach couples. In the beginning, I was coaching women only and was missing the whole other equation, because when you're making diet and lifestyle changes, you don't want to be, as people say, like a short order cook where you're cooking for yourself and cooking for your partner. And if you do have another child, you're dealing with secondary infertility, then cooking something different for them. That is exhausting itself. So it is important for the whole family to make these healthy choices together. And so having the partner do this program with you is where we see the most success. Going to the fertility clinic is not getting to the root cause of why it's not working. I didn't get to any of these issues. And, my postpartum health was not good. I was super irritable. Both my kids have food sensitivities and other health issues. Generally they're fine, but my son's got some mood issues that we're dealing with, which is, to be honest, quite brutal. So some of these things, if I had have worked on my preconception health, I do believe, and the research is showing that, could have been prevented. Like I've said it before too. Why do we spend, this is from Dr. Ben Lynch, if you listen to his episode, why do we spend 12 to 18 months planning for our wedding and then want to get pregnant, month one with our baby? Why don't we switch that around to really lay that solid foundation? And I know you could be, you may be trying and you may be, a little bit older and you're maybe feeling in a panic because of, the biological clock, but there's, chronological age and biological age. So really you could have a very healthy, person in their 40s, still having babies. Maybe the person in their 30s is not healthy. So it's to do with, what's going on in the inside. So working on those things is, there's no, as I say, no negative side effects to digging into why it's not working. Part of this too is, we're in the era that it says we need to trust the doctors. And I do believe having your OBGYN, your reproductive endocrinologist as part of your team. But a lot of times what happens is we go straight over there. We get on the train to exactly what I did. So to your OBGYN and then over to your RE. And then we forget about ourselves. We forget that we actually know our body best. You're listening to this podcast right now, Get Pregnant Naturally, because something's telling you that something's not quite right. And being able to listen to yourself, what are those little healing opportunities that we all have, those little nudges, kind of like, oh, wait, something's not quite right here. And how do we, instead of pushing forward, and I know I have the same, like in a panic, kind of that type A and panic, impatient, moving forward. But if we take 2 steps back to take one giant leap forward to be able to figure out, why it's not working. It's to then include in that healing roundtable. So to include your RE, your OBGYN, fertility coach, your nutrition practitioner, your masseuse, your chiro, your acupuncturist, not all at once, because that's a lot, but really bring them in as you see fit, but you're in the center of all this. And so, and then IVF can be an option for you. But if you've already had a failed IVF, to take a pause to really figure out how to optimize your body and not going in back to back to back IVF. It's like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing, expecting different results and wondering why it's not working. And also the stress of these failed cycles is enormous, right? We see a lot of people just completely wiped out after it. So it's taking 2 steps back, but 1 giant leap forward, like we talked about. And it's also the analogy of there you are in the car, racing down the road and the foot's like hammered to the ground. Whereas this approach is you're still moving forward because we're coaching you to move forward. That's what this whole thing is about. But it's in a very targeted, action-oriented way with a method behind it. So you're moving forward, but you're not speeding and not kind of out of control. You know what's going. You can see the healing and you can see the transformation as you're moving along. And again, not like a broken record, but there's no negative side effects to working on your health. I know this firsthand. And the next mistake that we see is doing this by yourself. Making diet and lifestyle changes are simple, but they're not easy. We may know that maybe we've done the elimination diet and we're like, oh, wait a minute, dairy and gluten can cause issues for us. So we've decided to take that out. And we might have taken out all the environmental toxins. So switched out your personal care and switched out some of your cleaners. So you've made some of those changes, but then to dig into things, a little more things, looking at your sleep and be able to troubleshoot this is where we see people go wrong. And having that support and accountability is where you can actually fast track it. Because a lot of times, and I give the analogy of there you are chipping away at the gold in the coal mine and you turn around before you reach the goal because you're like, oh, wait a minute, you can be filled with self-doubt. Maybe this is not the right thing. Maybe I shouldn't go 100% gluten-free. I think I feel fine when I have it. Or, my sleep and, maybe you're not able to figure out, well, why can't I, why am I always waking up tired? What is it? And maybe not even knowing that you have a blood sugar issue, or maybe that, you've got a vitamin deficiency or a mineral deficiency. So things that there's something off. You can't quite pinpoint it, but doing this by yourself, it just wastes time. So that's why the mistakes we see there, really having a coach or a practitioner to really help you through this. So helps you really get out of your own way. And so you're able to take the right type of action instead of just taking those generalized suggestions and doing things that, may be recommended in the fertility community, but are they the right things for you? And also having a coach that's been through the fertility journey. So myself and our coaches have all experienced infertility, and really it's a unique thing. If you haven't been through it, it's really hard to explain to other people really what it's like. And that's why we talk about educating those around you, because, well-meaning people can say things to you, which then are very triggering. It's even triggering to like go out and see a family or a pregnant person being invited to baby showers. I know when I was going through this, all my friends around me were either pregnant, they've had young children. It was one big, I was diagnosed at 28, and then I'd end up having my daughter when I was 31. So in that range, everybody was pregnant around me. It can be very isolating when people don't understand what it is you're going through, and maybe not even be able to share it with your friends. I did share it with my close friends and family. But many people don't feel comfortable doing that. And then feeling very triggered around this. So it's, even though we're talking about the diet and lifestyle changes and we're going to, look at a targeted protocol based on testing for you, it's equally important, take the right supplements, but it's equally important to work on the mental, emotional stress of this, of a infertility diagnosis, and really, because really how it's impacted your life plan. And if you're like me, you probably have a life plan of, when you want to have your children, how far apart you want your children, all this planning, and then when it's not working and it feels like everything is out of control, there's a lot of uncertainty. And then that makes us even push and like grip and hold on even tighter. How do we release the control? And then that's when we, as the universe, the higher power, God, whatever it is for you then has its own plan for you, and being able to know and to know in your heart that it will work. It just may not be on your timing. And we talk about that, the soul of your baby is waiting. So all of this is equally as important as the right diet and the right supplements. Being able to, the goal of it all is to get your body into that parasympathetic state. So both physically and, mentally, emotionally, to reduce the stress. And so having a coach that understands, obviously we can't understand your exact situation, but at least can be empathetic and compassionate to those triggers and things that other people that haven't gone through it they won't know. So, and then that fast tracks you as you feel understood and feel heard and validated, then you can move through the pain. A lot of times we keep pushing it down, being able to vocalize that and verbalize it, and it just gives it in a safe space, then you can move through it. And we have different modalities to help you move through that. Either it's emotional freedom technique or tapping. We're just including a distance Reiki as part of the program too. So energy healing, which is really powerful. And then the fertility or life coaching, which helps you and your partner to work on, whatever it is in your relationship. This will either bring you closer together or tear you apart. And so working on those pieces to bring back intimacy so it's not just about baby making, it's love making, and really all the things that, you love about your partner and what makes you guys happy together. And so having a coach that you can talk to and have someone that's going to guide you through and keep you accountable is really invaluable. And for years, I didn't have a coach or any of these things. And now I have a coach in all different areas of my life. And I find it's interesting. I'm reading Jay Shetty's book, Think Like a Monk, and he was talking about to really have those, to get that feedback from different people in your life. Either it's like a circle of friends, a mentor, a coach, all these different kind of, not huge amount of things, but like maybe at least 3 different circles. So then you can have someone look at you and your crap, right? Because we could be stuck in self-sabotage, see things that we're, our patterns that we keep doing the same thing over and over again. I know in times of stress, I, forget to exercise. I forget to do my spiritual practice. I end up sitting there with my shoulders around my ears and just getting even more stressed out. Then I have people call me out on that, going, wait a minute, you've stopped doing this practice. And what do you need to do to be able to, that's what in times of stress, that actually helps me move through it. And so we can be able to have someone, see what it is you're doing. So that's why coaching is super important in, when you're dealing with, any kind of health issue. And especially in this case, a fertility issue. So having a fertility coach. And then the last mistake we see is not working with a fertility expert. So many times people are doing, you may be working with a local practitioner. Maybe they're doing some of the tests, and maybe they're even some of the tests that I've talked about on this podcast. So I've been very vocal as the ones we use. Like we use typically either a LEAP MRT or a Zoomer food sensitivity test, depending on where you are in the world. We're using the Dutch test, the one we like right now. We're using the GI map test, looks at the DNA of your stool. And then we're using the hair tissue mineral analysis test. And so those are all the tests we use. So you may have a practitioner, you may find one that actually is running those tests and is able to then give you feedback. But the big caveat and the thing to look out for is, are they an expert in fertility? Do they work with fertility, people that are dealing with infertility? Because it's a unique subset. And really, again, like we talked about before, having someone that's holding you accountable. And a lot of the times, if you're with, a local practitioner, or they may not have the time to coach you. Typically, we have an open door policy where basically in between sessions, and that's where a lot of the juicy stuff can happen. Where you have the session, then you can reflect on that. And then people are, emailing us in between sessions, and we have a secure message portal as part of our program to in between. And then we get back to you. That's where a lot of the reflections and the change can happen after you've had a session. You're like, wait a minute. Oh, okay. I'm doing this. Or, we call you out on your crap, because we all have it, and being able to identify it and, helping you move forward so you can get out of your own way. And really, typically a local practitioner, if they don't have coaching as part of their practice, and if they don't specialize in infertility, they can miss these healing opportunities. And like that mind, body, spirit approach, so stuck on the diet and the lifestyle recommendations that maybe haven't looked at the limiting beliefs, that maybe you're thinking it's going to be hard to get pregnant because back in sex ed class or something, you were told, having a baby is, I don't know, going to be, I remember the video they showed us in grade 7 when I was 12, the birth, and it was like horrific with blood. And I was like, that looks scary and horrible. So maybe that's been embedded in your self-conscious, that it's going to be painful and horrible and scary. And, will you be a good mother? And is, right now in the middle of a pandemic, the right time to bring your child in? And, all these different worries that we're having, those limiting beliefs, and they can get stuck in your subconscious, and they could be you could be negatively hypnotizing yourself rather than positively hypnotizing yourself. So visualizing it actually working and knowing that, that you're a loving mother, that you are a great mother, that you already are a mother. Like as soon as you step foot into this journey, you already are a mother. And so knowing that in your heart too is equally as important. And then like the spiritual side of it, the visualizing, the affirmations. And a lot of the times we get stuck feeling that our body is broken, it'll never work. And that, that IVF is our only option, and that donor eggs are our only option. And we've helped many people that, when they've been told it's only the donor eggs are their only option, they're getting pregnant naturally or getting pregnant with their own eggs. So those sort of statements are just not true. And so being able to question those limiting beliefs is equally as important. So we see that with a local practitioner or someone who's not a fertility expert, missing out on those areas to be able to troubleshoot, to be able to see what are those healing opportunities that are unique with someone who is dealing with infertility. And so what happens with someone that will just focus on the tests, just doing the test, is they typically aren't able to see success. Just doing the test, just doing the diet it's the coaching side of it with a fertility expert is really what shifts the needle and helps people to then heal in all aspects of their life. So that's what we're seeing. And so if someone isn't specializing in fertility, our recommendation is to steer clear. Really, you wouldn't take your car to a mechanic who hasn't touched a car in 5 years. So why are you taking your fertility, trying to have a baby and conceiving, to someone who maybe they're just specializing in functional testing or a functional approach, but they don't specialize in fertility. It's things can be overlooked. So I'm really passionate about this part because we see people spending a lot of money on the tests that we're recommending here, because you can go off and get them, but you're not seeing the results. So they end up coming back for additional coaching and troubleshooting, and also seeing people just doing the testing, without the coaching, and then they're troubleshooting themselves or self-diagnosing or self-prescribing, which that just wastes time. It doesn't get to the root cause of what's going on. So it's if you're working with someone that doesn't work day in and day out with people that have infertility, they don't have access to the latest research, the trends, the methods really help you get pregnant naturally. So that's where we see people making some biggest mistakes there, just working with someone who's not a fertility expert, who's just focused on the testing and not able to then help you move forward. So you may have heard about our Fab Fertile method. As we talked about today, it does include functional testing. And again, we have access to functional lab testing, such as the food sensitivity testing, stool testing, hormone testing, looking at your hair, so mineral testing. And we're reviewing your blood chemistry review, and that's for you and your partner. Again, not to diagnose, but to educate. And then the coaching to help you really fast track this success so you can prepare your body in the best way for your baby, taking those targeted diet and lifestyle changes. And we work with a lot of people in the healthcare field, doctors, nurses, typically a lot of people left-brained, science-minded, as we say, busy professionals, lawyers, accountants, type A. They love the testing. And then we help them fast track their success with coaching, which is moving you forward. And so at the end of the program, you'll either be happily pregnant, or if you do need to go to the fertility clinic, you'll have dramatically improved your chances of success because you've optimized your health. You've worked on your health for both you and your partner. And we specialize, as you may know, in tough cases like low AMH, premature ovarian insufficiency, premature ovarian failure, diminished ovarian reserve. So it is almost 2021. And I know you're listening right now to my podcast, Get Pregnant Naturally, because you want to get pregnant naturally in 2021 and have your baby. So if you are ready to take a targeted, customized, functional approach to your fertility, I encourage you to book a call by going to FabFertile, FABfertile.com. Click on book a free call. This call is for you. and your partner will develop a customized plan that's going to help you prepare your body for a baby in 2021. Space is very limited to work with us, so click on the link in the show notes to book a call, or go to fabfertile.com and book a free call. Melatonin is important for female fertility. It helps regulate hormones and maintain the body's circadian rhythms. Plus, it helps determine the frequency and duration of the menstrual cycle. Plus, it impacts sperm count and motility. Blue and green light negatively impact our melatonin production. That's why we recommend Blue Blocks, blue and green light sleep classes to all our one-to-one clients. Simply go to Blue Blocks, BLUBLOX.com, and use the coupon code GETPREGNANT podcast at checkout to receive your 15% discount. That's BlueBlocks, BLUBLOX.com, and use the coupon code GetPregnantPodcast. Hey there, I regularly speak with 5 to 10 couples per week who are struggling to have their baby. And although we want to help everyone, we only have 2 spots available per month to work with us. So the Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery Call is for action takers, really people who are ready to move forward so they can finally have their baby. And if you're not ready and you wait, the risk is you'll need to wait 2 to 3 months for a spot to open up. So if you're seriously considering working with us, go to fabfertile.com and click on book a free call. Then you'll be all booked in and ready to spend 30 minutes to give you the action plan to getting pregnant naturally. That's fabfertile.com and click on book a free call. I'm excited to offer you a special gift. If you are a U.S. resident, text Fertile, FERTILE to 55444. You'll be prompted to enter your email address and you'll receive our Fertility Yoga download. In this 20-minute intro video, we focus on a calming and peaceful practice to connect back to our heart. These simple yoga poses can help quiet negative thoughts and make you feel more in control. Download it now and get started today. For U.S. residents, text Fertile, FERTILE to 55444. For non-U.S. residents, go to Yoga Freebie, FREEBIE, to access your special gift. That's yogafreebie.com to access the free fertility yoga download. The Get Pregnant Naturally podcast, including show notes and links, provides information with respect to healthy living, nutrition, lab testing, and is intended for informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor is it to be construed as such. We cannot guarantee that the information provided on the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast reflects the most up-to-date medical research. Information is provided without representation or warranties of any kind. Please consult a qualified physician for medical advice and always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health and nutrition program.